Welcome to Faith Fondue, a podcast featuring author and educator Haley DeMaria and teacher and blogger Ann Strickers. Faith Fondue features a melting pot of topics ignited by a flame, our faith, and guided by the Holy Spirit. It's the week of May 5th, the 6th Sunday of Easter. This is Season 4, Episode 8, and we have got a lot to talk about on this Cinco de Mayo, Kentucky Derby, and May the 4th weekend. Ann, how are you?
I'm good. That is true. May the 4th was yesterday, and today, we have Cinco de Mayo. So it's kind of that time of year, and the days are long, which is really nice.
So nice.
So, the school year's winding down. And that was one of my talking points. Haley, it's awards season.
Yes.
And so this past Friday, yes, the Presidential Medal of Freedom was extended to 19 Americans. I always love paying attention to that. But I was thinking about this time of year because the valedictorian is, that's one award for schools. Schools have lots of awards. We have an award assembly. Maybe you do too.
Mm-hmm.
And the word valedictorian means to bid farewell. So I knew in Latin it meant something. I had to look it up. And then in the NBA, they give Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year. And Stephen Curry was Clutch Player of the Year. And I thought that's a cool award to be clutch, right? And they define it, what it means, like when it's within a certain amount of time and like points within a game and whether he delivers. And then they won't announce like Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, and Sixth Man of the Year, I think. They won't announce those till after the season.
Okay.
So they keep us waiting. And 19 Americans were awarded the nation's highest award to civilians for their contributions to American life. And I loved looking through the list. There was a swimmer, Katie Ledecky, with her 7 Olympic gold medals, and Father Greg Boyle was near to my heart as a Jesuit priest and author and founder of Homeboy Industries. And some of the names on there, I'm like, whoa, like, okay, and it raises an eyebrow. And I actually like that because I think that's part of being an American is that we have this collective canon. We're very diverse. We have all different, cultures with subcultures, even with the United States. We have different political parties, different faith traditions, backgrounds. So we won't all agree. So just to see some of the names on there, I thought, okay, that wouldn't have been my choice, but I can recognize their contributions, but really Presidential Medal of Freedom, or, it's fun to kind of toss it around. So,
right. Okay. I'll have to look up that list. Yeah. I did see Katie Ledecky. It's interesting. You ask if we have an award ceremony. This is, of course, it's graduation season. And yes. I have a college graduate this year who did not have a high school graduation, like, of course, all class of 2020 members. And we've been so it's been a different experience for me this time around because I've never gone through this sort of the approach of a graduation and milestones and lasts, all of that. And people I think feel very sorry for the high school class of 2020. And my response is always, you know what, they're fine. And yes, they lost something. They lost a lot. Everybody lost something. I tend to think the class of 2021 had it worse because nobody, people were kind of done by then. But for whatever the reason, the one thing that I think my son, who graduated in 2020 or, from high school, didn't have a graduation. The one thing that he said he really missed was attending the senior awards banquet. And he said, I sat through 3 of those because, of course, it's long and the whole school goes and it's all the awards for seniors. So when you're a freshman, sophomore, or junior, you're just really sitting there listening to awards that you're not going to get because you're not a senior. And he said, I sat through 3 of those award ceremonies and I always wondered what it would be like to hear my name called. And I didn't get that. And I thought that was really interesting. A little bit of an ego. Yeah. And so, there's that too. Let's check that a little bit.
That's okay.
It is. He worked hard and, they did a great job of presenting the awards in their own way. But it was interesting that he would say that that's the one thing that he would, felt he missed out on. So awards, they are meaningful for different ways and different reasons. And They certainly
Yeah.
are warranted. And I will have to look up that list. I, again, did see Katie
Yeah.
Ledecky got it, but we'll have to check out who else is on that list and be a
Yeah.
little judgy myself.
Yeah. Go for it. I told my students, I said, I'm pretty confident I won't be getting one of these. Maybe some of you will. Yeah. I said I could say with 1,000%, not even that's possible, 100% certainty I won't be at the champions dinner at the Masters. That's for only the champions. So we can count ourselves out, but still, I still love it. I love reading about these profiles. And yeah, the Washington Post has a great list. So definitely check it out, listeners. Maybe if you don't know, take a guess. Who do you think might be on that list? And one note is they honor people posthumously. So in death, they still honor
Mhm.
people. So there were a couple of Americans that were recognized, and I love that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of the Masters, I thought of you this weekend. I was at the Dick Vitale Gala where we were raised. They were we they the event was raising money for pediatric cancer research. I don't know if you saw, but they raised over $24 million in one night.
Wow.
Amazing,
Wow.
amazing,
Wow.
amazing. Really an
Um,
emotional night.
that
As
is
you,
amazing.
it is. I will say I have long admired Dick Vitale for the amount of effort that he puts in every single day to raise awareness for pediatric cancer. He again, this is a man who's 85 years old. He could play golf every day. He could do really whatever he wanted, and he does. And what he wants to do is continue to raise awareness and raise money for pediatric cancer. It is really inspiring the way he is able to inspire others to just give and give and give. So it was a real privilege to be there. One of the raffle items they had were 2 tickets to the Masters. As you can
Wow.
imagine, they all
Yeah.
went for thousands and thousands of dollars.
I'm sure. That's
But I
great.
thought, but it's a great room of coaches and sports heroes. They honored
Yeah.
Derek Jeter and Rick Barnes, and Jeff Gordon, someone who I didn't know a whole lot
Oh,
about.
cool.
Huge
Yeah.
fan.
Hmm.
Now
Yeah.
he does a lot for
Yeah.
pediatric cancer. I did not know.
Great.
And
Yeah.
so just a really wonderful, inspiring, hard evening. When you think about what some of these families are going through, I was there with a family who has been touched by this personally themselves, and it's been hard for all of us. But
Yeah.
again, inspiring. At the beginning of the evening, they said, "You will laugh, you will cry, and you will do everything in between," and that certainly was true. But overall, just
Oh,
a really inspiring
yeah.
weekend. The
Yeah.
irony of it all, as you know, and I have shared, is that it was one of these events that I knew I wanted to go to, had to go to, can't imagine not being there, would really, truly would not have been anywhere else this weekend, except for the fact that my husband, shout out to him, was one of the top 1% employees, performers. I'm not quite sure what it's called, except for in his line of work, it's called the Circle of Excellence, and is on an
Oh,
all expense paid trip to Hawaii right now. So he
geez.
is
Yeah.
by himself and enjoying, I hope, a quiet time on the beach, celebrating everything that he has done. It was
Mm.
really, it is hard for me to not be there and celebrate
Yeah.
with him. Of course, he
Yeah.
understands what I was doing, but of course, they had
Right.
to be the same weekend. The only other weekend that
I
would have been
know.
worse was James's graduation, but
Yes.
it kind of a comedy of errors, except for there's some things that aren't really funny about the weekend.
Right. Yes.
But that was what
Yes.
was going on in our house. I did go with
That's family
Edward,
life.
my
Uh-huh.
son. He loved it. It was really a special time for the two of us. He is only
Mm.
home for a week before he leaves for the summer for camp. So
Wow.
I will cherish every moment with him.
Mm.
But that was our weekend. We're all
Yeah.
over the
So,
place.
couple questions was, what is Dick Vitale's connection to pediatric cancer? People don't need one, but I'm always just curious if they have one. And was the captain there? Did Derek Jeter speak as well? Or
Yes,
did
all of the
the
above.
honorees give us a talk, I guess is what I was thinking.
Yes. So Dick Vitale, of course, was close with Jim Valvano. So he
Okay.
got he got
Hmm.
he got involved with, and Jim Valvano's widow was there, and it was really lovely to
Oh,
see
wow.
her. She's the chairwoman of the V Foundation. So, of course, at the ESPYS, there's that famous speech that Jim Valvano gave,
Yep.
where he announced that they were going to start the V Foundation that has, at this point, has raised hundreds of millions of dollars for cancer research. And I think it was probably 3 years into the establishment of the V Foundation that there was a local child family that the Vitals knew had who was diagnosed with cancer. And at that point, he learned how little money, I think it's like 5 cents per dollar, if that, from cancer research dollars goes to pediatric cancer. So he
Okay.
said that is not enough. And so he has made it his mission within the V Foundation to establish the Dick Vitale Pediatric Research Fund. So
Fantastic.
it's yeah,
Great.
it started as a relationship with Jim Valvano and then stemmed from
Yeah.
a local experience that he had. And it's really remarkable, again, what he does. Derek Jeter
That's,
was there. He was one of the honorees, so he received an award. His sister had leukemia and battled that while
oh,
she was, I
okay.
believe, 20 years old, and so he has his own
Oh,
experience. Of course, I am an
yeah.
Orioles fan. I am
Yeah.
not a Yankees fan, but I
Yeah.
will tell
Right.
you after this weekend, I am a Derek Jeter fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
He certainly is a remarkable athlete, but they shared a lot of
Um,
the work that he has done pretty, for the most part, unknown to probably those of us outside of New York, but pretty
yeah.
remarkable what he's doing with his money and his time, talent, and treasure post athletic career. So
Yeah.
big Derek Jeter fan now. Just fun to see him. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of a once in a lifetime generational
Yeah.
talent. So
Yep.
fun to
Yeah.
just be in the same room as him and hear the good work that he's doing as well.
Yeah. Yankees don't have any, they don't have many more numbers to give their players because they've retired so many, but he was in terms of single digits, but yes, number two.
Yes, yes,
Um, yeah, that's awesome. And that makes sense when you said the feelings on the evening will be everything from laugh, because yeah, Jim Valvano laugh, think, cry every day. Those are the things that we need to
yes.
do. So it sounds like that mission is accomplished by that evening.
It certainly
It's
was.
great.
It certainly
Yeah.
was this weekend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's familiar in the sense of like for Dick Vitale to have that moment of awareness and then to do something about it. I had a chance to catch up with my cousin this past weekend, and she, listens to podcasts much like this one. And she was reading, she follows this woman on Instagram, and in kind of learning about the needs for kidneys in our country, probably in the world, to be quite honest. She is donating a kidney in 2 weeks as a non-directed donor. So I had a chance to just kind of talk to her about what's involved with that. What does that mean? Why are you doing this? And she kind of just talked about the backstory and did some of the personal research and just how her decision was made. And she said something like, how often do you get to do something where you get to save a life?
Wow.
And I've certainly taught about that. Like, there's an article in America Magazine about somebody who just feels the call to service, and we can all serve in different ways. Like you mentioned just now, time, talent, treasure. But for this woman, she's like, look, I'm healthy. I can give it a kidney. And Amy really feels that way too. She's a 40-year-old woman. She's very healthy. She's a marathon runner. And she doesn't want to be a hero. She doesn't want people to, she's not really talking about that much, but it's just so fascinating because once you start talking about it, everybody knows somebody that
Right.
either has needed a kidney or donated a kidney or is part of it. And, it's just really inspiring. I'm not totally surprised she's doing this because she is just a really dynamic, caring, selfless person. But at the same time, you're like, okay, you are giving a
That's
kidney.
amazing. And
Yeah.
I've heard
So
that the surgery, now of course there's always, when you are receiving an organ, there's always the risk of rejection. But I've heard
yes,
that the
right.
process for the donor is actually it's a longer recovery than the process for the recipient. I don't know why I've heard that. I think it was, Father
Huh.
Malloy donated a kidney. Did you know
Yes,
that?
right.
So
I told
I
her that.
think
Yeah.
it might
And it
have
was
been
like
during
a
that
chain.
process. Yes.
Yes. So that she doesn't know if hers will be a chain. The recipient decides whether or not they want to meet the person or reach out to them. And her surgery is laparoscopic, and then
Wow.
the the kidney where they will take the kidney will be a 2 to 3 inch incision mark, and it will probably be with a robotic arm, to be quite honest.
Wow.
So yeah, tech is amazing. She will not be able to have Advil again. something like ibuprofen. I think the drug is neoprene. Because you do kind of hear about this more and more about the
Mm-hmm.
effects of
Yep.
it. So that's just a little change. Tylenol's okay, but Advil, Aleve, nope, those are off limits. High salt diet. Um, she can give to a child apparently, and so she's learned all these stories. And there's Freakonomics episode about it. In this country, we don't sell organs, but there's some debate on whether or not why we should. Said she wouldn't do it if she was getting paid. But she was recently down in Monterey. She ran a Big Sur marathon, and she was at this place. I said, "You got to go to this place to eat or have a drink." And this woman, they started talking to these people. There was four women, and turned out it was this woman's 80th birthday. And my cousin said, "Well, why aren't you having a drink, like a celebration, some champagne?" And she said, "Well, I'm in renal failure and I am waiting on a kidney." And my cousin's like, "I'm donating a
Oh
kidney
my
in three
gosh.
weeks. Yes. So I said, I think that if I can't speak for this woman, but I would take that as such a sign of hope.
Yes.
Could you imagine just meeting somebody like that and then finding out that they have elected to donate a kidney? Like
Just out of the
that to me,
goodness. It's
again. And
amazing.
she said she couldn't, there are different blood types. They already talked about it. But yeah, so I will, yeah, we can ask prayers for her for surgery, the
Absolutely.
person that's receiving this, yeah, life, really.
It is the gift of life. She will save someone's
Yeah,
life, and that's amazing. What a
yeah,
selfless gift.
yes. Yeah, but it's that moment of awareness, like what is it, And I wrote this down. I don't know the answer to this, but I have a little bit of a penchant for seeing people in public.
Hmm.
Um, and again, I think it's like an awareness. So I don't know if it's something you can improve or whatever, but I live above a restaurant, and a lot of times, like, I'm surprised it's not noisy right now, but there's usually music out there. There's garbage every morning at
Oh,
4:30
geez.
because the restaurant bottles every night 10:30 because they recycle them, and a lot of times it's just not very much fun. But the other side is it's a very popular restaurant. And so I was walking home, and part of the restaurant is in the basement. So if you are walking by the restaurant, you are looking down and you can make eye contact with the people looking out to the window. And I totally locked eyes with Steve Kerr, and who's the head coach of the Warriors. And I was like, I just like froze. I didn't give him a peace sign. I just smiled. I didn't give like thumbs up or like, it was he doesn't know me, but it was one of those times where we really did lock eyes. So it's like, oh, I know you are. But that's a good thing about living above a restaurant. But when I was at Notre Dame, I was crossing the street and I'm like, that looks like Drew Tranquil, a football player, former captain. And then I saw later that day, of course, he was on campus for blue and gold game. So this just happens all the time. One of my friends is very, very astute, but it's that this I'm talking about a literal awareness of seeing someone with Dick Vitale or my cousin. It's like being aware of needs in the world, but I don't
Right.
know. It's all in some sort of like spectrum here.
But Anne, you are open to it, and you're walking, you're not staring at your phone. You are open to seeing others too. I get the literal seeing and then the seeing the need, and there's a little bit of a difference there. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's even one of the things I said to Edward this weekend. Because of course 20-year-olds are always on their phone. I said there's going to be a lot of sports people here. I said, and you're going to miss them if you're staring at your phone. And he was great. He was certainly very into it. But if you are for if you're walking around and you're looking at your phone, you're not going to see Steve Kerr and you're not going to see Drew Tranquil, and you're going to probably
Yeah.
miss a whole host of other things going on in the world.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the worst parts of phones, I think, is people miss out on seeing the beauty
Mm.
that is out there, or maybe they miss out on seeing the need that is out there. But you miss a lot when you are not open, when your eyes are literally and figuratively not open and aware.
Yeah. I guess, and I don't disagree. My question would be before the phone, like what enables any of us to like recognize, and I don't know that there's an answer, right? Or
True.
like paying attention. And I feel, as someone who's been in education, I'm sure that teachers blamed
Ha.
television many years ago. Again, it's different because it's not in your space. Like you're saying, yeah, literally the phone is, yeah, not enabling us, because how many times have we walked and looked at our phone and responded? We've, yes, yes, yes. But I I just want to know if, like, in addition to taking away my phone, how can any of us maybe pay more attention? Or I don't know. I think it's like a philosophical question, if that makes sense.
Well, it's a
Or
little bit, I think about this when people talk about texting and driving, right? Because of
I,
course that's a huge no-no. But before texting and driving, it was changing the radio station, or it was looking at a map, or right, there was always something that was distracting us
yes,
from driving safely. It was,
yes,
and now
right.
of course now it's texting or looking at your phone, but before it was maybe even holding the phone. But so there's always been something that has distracted us. Am I blaming it on the phone right now? Maybe that's just where we are in this world. But there are things I'm sure that have distracted us throughout the course of our lives before phones.
Probably not to the same degree. I mean,
Probably not, but
I'm text and driven. I'm like, how did I mean, what are we doing? Yes, what are we doing?
well,
What am I?
now when I
Yeah,
change the radio station, I think, okay, well, this isn't distracting. Why did we
right.
think this was distracting so long ago? But of course it was.
Yeah.
So for the gospel this week, I loved hearing this morning's gospel. It's John 15. We've heard it all the time. It's again one of those ones that you would recognize whether you are a churchgoer or not. This is my commandment, love one another as I love you. This is an interesting one for me because I, of course, have been speaking for, gosh, 16 years now since my book came out. And one of the things that I always share is the mission statement for Notre Dame Swimming. And that is Tim Walsh's mission statement, again, that he used for 29 years there. The purpose of Notre Dame Swimming is to pursue athletic excellence with self discipline and love for one another. I heard that for 4 years while I was there. I've shared it for 16 years, but it probably was only 3 or 4 years ago. I think after COVID, maybe it was before COVID. That's a little bit of a time warp there, so I'm not really sure.
Sure.
When I actually realized that I've always known that the most important part of the mission statement to Tim was love for one another. That
Mm.
was always the most important part to him. And I always thought that meant, of course, that we would love and care for our teammates because that's how we were going to come together and work best as a team. And I believe that, and we certainly lived that with everything we experienced. But it finally clicked for me, probably 25 years after I heard it for the first time, that comes from this commandment. That comes from love one another as I love you. And of course, that's where it comes from because Tim was such a man of faith. But I love that now when I share the mission statement and I'm able to speak to that and make that connection. Because again, it was Tim's favorite part. It was the most meaningful part to him. It was the most powerful part of his mission statement. And it took me a long time to figure out that it really had this very biblical grounding. So made me smile when I heard it, made me think of
Yeah.
my coach Tim, who I miss all the time. I will give him a shout out. He is being inducted into the Division III Swimming Hall of Fame this week, which is a really meaningful honor for his family. His wife will be there. One of my teammates will be there. He was the head coach at Johns Hopkins, which is a Division III program, for a number of years before he came to Notre Dame. So this is the first inaugural class of the Division III Hall of Fame. So it's kind of
Um,
neat that he's one of a handful of coaches that's being honored. So
their award.
another
Yes.
award, exactly. And of
Sure.
course,
Yeah.
just that love for one another. We certainly have a lot of love for one another within our teammates and our swim community, but loved hearing that gospel this morning.
Yeah. So here's my question. How did you know that, so he's a coach, they have goals, you set out to compete and to win, but how did you know that that was the most important part of the mission statement to him? What makes you really have conviction about that?
That's a good question. I think it's just how he lived his life and what was most important to him for us on the team. He really loved us first as people, always. And I think I felt that when I wasn't able to swim. I think I felt that when our team needed him as more than just a swim coach, but really as an adult father figure in our lives. He just loved us, truly, and always has, and always will. Still, I think we all still feel it, but I think I've just known that because he loved us as people way more than he did us as swimmers. And the rest of the mission statement was about swimming and what we needed to do to be successful there. But he was grounded in love.
Yeah. And that is, yeah, success for him, for Coach Welsh.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're in the spiritual stew, but I just wonder, Haley, and I do for everything that you've said about him in talks and having only met him through Zoom mass and getting a sense of who he was, I'm not surprised that you would say that and believe it and have really experienced that. Is that possible in college sports today for a coach to be that daring to say, I have this mission and this is really important, but if I had to choose, it would be this. And it wasn't that you'll have a, great experience or you'll, have lifelong friendships. It's that you will love one another. I mean,
I think so because you hear that about the coaches that have really made it. I don't think it's as common as it used to be, and that's unfortunate. I've often said that there are fewer coaches like Tim than there used to be, and that's just the nature of college athletics. I don't think coaches stay long enough to build those relationships. Some don't, some do. But I do think when you hear players, athletes talk about their coaches, the ones that have truly made an impact on their lives, they will tell you that they knew their coach, cared about them, and loved them. And that, I think, is the greatest gift a coach can give their athlete. It's so much more than the sport. It's caring for them and making a difference in their lives as people. And I do think you still hear that. I don't know
yeah,
if it's as common,
right.
but and maybe it wasn't common when Tim was coaching either. It's
Yeah,
just all I
right,
knew. But
right.
it's certain there. I do think it's still there, and I think that
Yeah,
should be the goal. But I do think that's where you are going to have a team that reaches its full potential. I guarantee
right.
you, Kevin Corrigan's teammates, they love each other. They know
Yeah,
Kevin Corrigan loves them and
yeah.
cares for them deeply. I have
That's
no
awesome.
doubt. And that's why they perform at the level that they do. Muffet McGraw, Niele Ivey, I think those coaches love their athletes. Look at the love Niele has for Muffet. That's genuine, and
Right.
that has made a monumental difference in, I know, Coach Ivey's life for sure. So
Yeah,
yes, I do think it's still there. I would hope that it would be there with all coaches. Unfortunately, it's not, but I do think it can still be there.
yeah. Another award, shout out to Coach Corrigan for Coach of the Year.
Yes,
So
true,
we can
true.
give him that. And, as you were speaking, I was thinking about, coaches aren't in isolation. So if they feel supported and loved by the athletic director or the program or, even alumni and whatnot. So it's yeah, transactional is what I'm kind of hearing about a lot of coaches now, but that space to really ground those relationships, I would think is so important. So, yeah, thank you, Notre Dame, for loving Tim Welsh enough that he could love all of you swimmers. So that's great.
Yeah.
My piece of the spiritual stew is the same gospel reading because yes, I heard it this morning, and in my sophomore class, we talk a lot about discipleship and how Jesus is different. So the disciples and the apostles often call him rabbi, but he's not a rabbi. He didn't go to rabbinical school. Specifically, we can see why he would have done that because they were not going to call him Messiah or but it's like teacher, but it's informal. But one of the key lines, and it's one of the lines I love, is I have chosen you, and it is such a gift to feel chosen. We all want to feel chosen, and but this is important in Judaism because Students choose their rabbi. And so again, Jesus is different. Jesus is not a rabbi, so he chooses his own students. That's one of the distinctions.
Hmm.
Another one of the distinctions is that students of the Torah, they go to one place to study at the temple, their minyan, wherever it is. Jesus was not in one place, as we know. He was an itinerant preacher. Everybody agrees on that. So he's on the go. And the other thing is that students would serve their rabbi. They would follow them. They would give them things. They would do what they ask. And Jesus serves his students. So he is the servant leader. So it just puts some of the ideas we've been talking about into context for hearing this gospel. I was like, I connected the dots. Okay, we're learning. I'm learning.
Okay, and I'm learning, and that's one of the reasons I love continuing to talk to you is because you bring such a great historical perspective to so much of this.
Thank you.
So
Thank
no,
my colleagues.
no, thank you. Yeah, that's interesting. Now I'll remember
Yeah.
that next time
Yes,
I hear
right.
that.
Chew on that, right?
I will chew on that. And with our takeaways, I one of the things that came out of this weekend, there was a young cancer patient who was speaking at the Vital Gala, and he said, "My wish for everyone is that everyone is treated like a pediatric cancer patient." He said, "When you are a child with cancer, everyone is kind, thoughtful, um, loving, embracing." And he said, if we treated everyone like that, wouldn't this world be a better place? And of course it would be. Yes, we should. That's how we should treat people. So that is one of my goals for this week is to navigate these next couple of weeks. I'll start with
Yeah.
2 weeks until we meet again, and to try to approach interacting with everyone I encounter with grace and kindness. And I would like to think I do that all the time, but I'm sure I don't. Um, but doing what this young man asked us to do and treat everyone as though they are a pediatric cancer patient. Because the world would be better off if we all approached everyone with that genuine love and kindness. So, a simple ask and a simple request, and sounds like it should be easy, but my guess is it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So
Okay.
that is my challenge for this week. As I come out of this weekend, which really will stay with me for a long time, for
Yeah.
sure. A lot to think about, but certainly that's something that stuck with me.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to hearing about that. Like how, how that you live that out. What is that? What did
What does
that
that
look
look
like in the
like?
day? Right.
Right.
I also think maybe you or Jamie should have a Mai Tai together when he gets back. And just a toast to a very full life. I mean, it's just such a, I mean, gosh, I mean, congratulations to him and this one, I mean, huge effort. And
Yes.
then just my heart breaks for him and for you. Like, I mean, it's a great life to be that busy and have these opportunities. I don't hear you complaining. It's just, everybody can be like, oh my gosh. So
Yes.
the
Yes.
work that he did to get there, and then also like the relationships, this young man, Sully, it's so emblematic of who you both are. And I bet you're both able to kind of laugh about it too, because it's
Well,
a
I'm
bummer,
trying
huge
to. I'm not
bummer.
sure he is. I know I'm not sure he is. Maybe he is a little bit, but I will tell you it was interesting. He was on the plane all day Thursday flying there,
Well, it
and
is a far trip.
it is a
Yeah.
far trip. And so I then became, I want to say, the default parent because both James and Edward had different issues they were dealing with that I think they normally would have gone to Jamie for, and they both came to me. So I kind of chuckled that I was living a little bit of his life by default because all of a sudden I had to deal with, these, again, not major issues, but kind of comical that I kept thinking, oh, I wish Jamie was here because he could have taken this phone call. So
Yeah.
it probably gave
Team
me a little bit of an appreciation for him and
Okay.
and kind of the role he plays in our parenting dynamic because I think we've all tried to leave him alone and let him enjoy his own time and peace without the panicked child phone calls.
Well, sounds like you were pretty clutch. One of my favorite words right now. A teacher that I formerly worked with he's filling in. Another teacher, his wife had their baby early, so he's out for the semester. And of course, this other teacher just said, I'm back. I can help in whatever way." And I said, "Just clutch hitter, clutch
Great.
player. Way to go, Jim. Like just to be clutch, to come in, be ready, and make it happen. That's a great quality."
That
So
is. That
yeah,
is.
maybe that's what I'm going to think about, being clutch. What does it mean to be clutch in the next few weeks? Who's clutch? Give them a shout out. So
Great. Well, 2 weeks from today is Notre Dame's graduation. I will be in
yes.
South Bend, so we'll have to find a day or two before or after to tape. But we're in the home stretch here with graduation. Again, a lot of lasts. The seniors all took, not all of them, but a couple buses of them got left at 5 a.m. from campus yesterday and bussed down to the Kentucky Derby.
Oh wow,
Spent
they
the
do that? I didn't
they
know that.
they apparently
Okay.
that is a thing. They got back at about
Okay.
2 a.m. Looked like they had a blast,
Yeah.
but just those milestone moments that will stay with them forever. Again, those are the meaningful parts of college
Yep.
that,
Yeah.
that time with your friends. We all say the best part, I've always said the best part of Notre Dame is the people. And so I'm really happy
No
that
doubt. No
that
doubt.
he's having that time and building those memories. But yeah, we're in the home stretch here, so we'll have a lot to report on next time we meet.
Look forward to it.
Yep, I do too. All right. Well, thank you, Anne. I look forward
Really
to being in touch. I look forward to,
enjoy graduation.
thank you very much. And I hope you are clutch over the next couple of weeks. And I will tell you how well I do at being kind.
Okay.
Thanks, Anne.
Bye.